Hello, welcome aboard. Nigel with you. So here we have a kit review. First of all, first apology, I've been a little bit quiet lately, as you'll probably have noticed. I haven't been very well. It's nothing serious. I just haven't been very well. I've probably overdone it on the Fiat and all the pulling about and stretching and everything underneath it. But yeah, I've just had a few days off modelling and basically sitting in front of the camera. I haven't even been out the front door, well, other than to walk the lovely little Dottie. I haven't been out the front door. I haven't spoken to anybody since God knows when. So there we go. So I'm feeling great again today. So here we are with a review. Now, this kit is obviously the Tamiya US Aircraft Carrier CVN 65 Enterprise, a kit that was originally made in 1984. So this will basically be as she was in 1984 or even before that. I'm not sure of what fit she has. But there are many reviews of this kit on YouTube. Be very careful. There's another one by a company called Mini Hobby, I think it was, and I think they were the initial startings of Trumpeter or whatever, I'm not sure. But I remember getting one of their kits many years ago, and it was an absolute rip-off, complete copy of the Tamiya Bismarck. The only difference was the plastic was like wax. It was really soft and I couldn't glue it with cement, so that went in the bin. Never bought another Mini Hobby kit since. So don't think if you see the Mini Hobby one and you think, oh, it's the same as the Tamiya, I'll get that one, it's cheaper. You can find this cheap. I actually bought this one second hand off eBay. They're about £125, I think, from Jadlam, about 150 retail, which for a ship kit isn't too bad. Although it is quite old and it is quite basic. But this was on eBay for about £100 or something, and best offer, so I offered him 80 quid, and I got it for 85 quid, I think. It's also got an extra set of aircraft in it, so it's a good way to go with kits if they're new, boxed, unopened. You know, even if they are opened by someone like me who just reviewed them, they've opened for that reason, then that's absolutely fine. And you trust the seller that if there is a problem, they'll deal with you okay. I have no problem with buying unsealed kits, but it has to be reflected in the price, that's all. But anyway, I've gone off track. So this is the 1/350th scale CVN 65 Enterprise. Loads and loads of information about this ship out there. You know, the internet is absolutely covered, and in CV6 as well. So there's lots and lots of information you can find. This being a fairly old kit by today's standards is a bit chunky. So you may be asking yourself, why are you reviewing this kit, Nige? The reason being is I've got 3 bits of extra stuff that go with this model that I want to show you. But I thought what I'll do is I'll do a series of 4 videos. I was going to go that now. Series of 4 videos. And what I'll do is I'll put them in a playlist, and then you can go and have a look at any of the 4 items. So if you don't want to see the kit review, just switch off and go and look at part 2, which will be some aftermarket, and then part 3 will be some aftermarket, and part 4 will be something else. So yeah, so you can fill your boots if you're an Enterprise fan, or I know a lot of you have me on in the background while you're modelling, so you can do that. So without further ado, I think we need to get to the bench and have a look at this. You can see it's quite a big box, but it's not the full length of the model. This is actually longer than Gerald R. Ford, probably only because of the returns for the catapults on the bow. But it's actually over 1 metre long, this one, and I think the Gerald R. Ford is about 997 millimeters, I think, from memory. The Gerald R. Ford is far more detailed, you know, far crisper and everything. Obviously, it's over 2,000 parts if I remember rightly. If you have a look at my review, if you haven't seen it, go and have a look. It's a 4-part review just on the kit, but I did actually count the actual number of parts in there, and I think it's 2,300 and something, including the photo etch. And also, if you are a fan of Amigraphy, she's got a build on there on her 2 channel, Amigraphy 2. Go and have a look. She's building it. She's done up to part 8 now, I think. She's building the whole Gerald R. Ford basically out of the box, no paint or anything yet, so I don't know quite what she's planning to do, but worth having a look. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this box, and we'll do a review of it, have a quick look through it. As I say, there are a million reviews of this out there, so you may not want to watch it, but I know a lot of you like to see my reviews. Some of you even say you wait to see my review before you buy a kit, even though there's other people reviewing a kit out there. So let's have a look. I haven't really been through the box properly. I should have actually, having bought it as a second-hand kit, I should have done that. I probably bought it about 6 months ago now, so but I've been waiting for this bit of aftermarket to turn up before I do a review, so I could do a set of videos. So let's get on the bench and have a look at it. Okay, so there you can see this is the left end of the box. I've had to put the camera really high up just to get this dimension in the camera, let alone the length. It's quite a big chunky old box, so bear that in mind if you're thinking of getting one for your stash. So yeah, as you can see, beautiful artwork painted on and everything here. So we've got the aircraft on the deck. There's an A6. We've got some Corsairs there. There's another A6 there. We've got an F-14. Yeah, very nice indeed. So lovely. Right, I'm not sure if we've got any Crusaders, have we? Yes, no, I don't think we have. So never mind. Anyway, so there's the box art, and then we can move along here slowly, and you can see up here we've got the reflection of the light because the top of the box is slightly sort of convex. So you can see here 1005mm long, modelling in a massive scale. So it's 1/350th, as I mentioned earlier. Now, very strangely on this box, I've just had a look, and on the end of the box it does say Tamiya Europe, but everywhere on the box there is no English. It's all Japanese. So that's very interesting. So you can see here 1 meter 5mm. Okay, so you can see there's the deck. We've probably got decals for all of this. The deck, I think, is very nicely detailed. You can see the selection of aircraft we've got there. We've got Corsair, Tomcat with the wings out, Tomcat and wings folded, Hornet, Viking, and A6E Intruder. And there you can see there's the images of the aircraft there. Okay. So going over the box, we're going to have to look at this upside down, I'm afraid. So you can see here we've got the stern of the ship. We've got the island here. Again, we've got all this Japanese writing on here. You can see the 65 on the side. And then we've got the some actual detail there of the sides. We've got the hangar decks and everything in here. And then we've got the actual aircraft sat on the deck. And then there's two there on a lift on the side of the aircraft. And then here we've got the big E. So there you go, made in Japan. You see it's written in English there, but everything else is Japanese. So anyway, let me know if you buy this kit like from Jadlam or something, do you get an English written box? So we'll have a look inside the box. Typical of Tamiya old stuff, it's probably got nice packaging. Tamiya newer stuff tends to be a bit lacking, I think, on their packaging. Everything's just chucked in the box, especially like their 12 scale cars. If you remember, they used to have all the tyres and all the springs and all the bits and pieces in bubble wrap, didn't they? Or in blister packs. And now it's all just chucked in there in bags. But anyway, this will probably be quite nice. So we've got our instructions here. We've got a little slip of paper here. What's this for? Important information concerning this kit. Okay. Don't feed it to your dog, or don't let your kitten eat it. So there we go. So you can see all the sprues in here, all nicely bagged up and everything. And as I said, I've also got with this kit a second set of aircraft. So we've got some Sea Kings, Hawkeyes, and some Phantoms as well. So it's very nice. Not sure if we're going to need the Phantoms for the period of this, but anyway, let's get this out of the way, which I can't do because I don't have enough. Okay, so here we have the instruction manual, a little bit damaged on the end. As I say, I got this second hand. So we can see on here we've got all the specifications of the aircraft carrier itself. 4 side elevators, 80 to 95 aircraft, 5,500 crew, nuclear reactors. We've got 20mm Vulcan phalanx. We've got Sea Sparrows. We've got steam catapults. That's handy because if they're the same, I've got some spare because I bought some 3D resin, or 3D wild 3D resin phalanx for the Gerald R. Ford, so I might have some spare to use on here. Overall length, like I'm going to build it, yeah. Overall length 341.3 meters. Flight deck width is maximum is 78.3 meters. It's got a beam of 40.5 millimeters, a draft of 10.8 meters, and displacement loaded of 89,600 tons. I know Gerald R. Ford is 100,000 tons, so you can tell just how much more she can carry. As you can see on here, the island's kind of almost halfway down, whereas on Gerald R. Ford it's sort of right at the back. Right, so typical old Tamiya magazine manual with the blue ink, and there you can see her there underway, and there's a picture there of the island from a book, Ship of the World. Okay, so I'm wondering if it tells here when she was launched. Construction began. Launched as the Enterprise on 24th of September 1960. Bloody hell. So there we go. So here we've got a lovely drawing of her with all the little different areas labelled, which is really nice to see, especially for people like me that don't know what things are called. So that's really good. So I could look all that up and learn all that. This is really cool as well. I've got all the descriptions of little bits and pieces on the island there as well. So here we've got more details about the ship. So we've got the Sea Sparrows, we've got the barricade stanchion, our best steam gear, all about the steam catapults. Very, very informative. Landing signal lights, SPN 35 full automatic landing guide system. And then we've got the phalanx there. And then we've got hose reels, we've got bridle retrievers, that's the bit sticking out the front, that's what makes it longer. And then we've got three-dimensional anti-aircraft search radar, aircraft tie-down fittings, pad eyes. I wish they had those pad eyes in photo etch for the Gerald R. Ford. That would drive you crazy, wouldn't it? So, coming into the book here, we've got assembly, read before assembly, study the instructions and everything, using sprue cutters to cut parts off. I'm not sure if this kit has any photo etch. I don't think it does. But anyway, as you can see, starting off, typical Tamiya style. I don't know why they have to do this. It's to make the box smaller, I think. But they did it with their Yamato as well, and it's a complete and utter bloody nightmare. Not so difficult on this because you don't have any hole plating, but Yamato's got hole plating, which makes it a nightmare. So you can see here we've got some counterhead screws, countersunk screws, and we've got some nuts on there, plenty of cement, and get all that bonded up and let that all go hard before you start thinking about filling it with seams and everything. You know, make sure it's all well glued on there, and then it's nice and flat on the top, or at least level in this area here. Attaching elevator guide rails, so your guide rails are coming in on the outside, and then you've got doors going in with no option to have them open because there is no hanger detail in this kit whatsoever. The people moan about Gerald R. Ford having no hanger detail, but at least it's got a floor. This doesn't even have a floor. It's got absolutely nothing, and you've got these metal brackets going in to support the hull. So that's a nice little touch for strength, but not so nice if you want to have a nicely detailed hangar deck. Here we're going to build up the Sea Sparrow launchers. Okay, so they're showing you how they go on there. And then we're going to add all these little islands to the outside and add all these little greeblies. Now, if I were you, I would seriously go through this build sequence and make lots of notes, because if you start adding bits like this before you've done the deck and stuff, they're all just going to get broken off. I mean, you can see these little parts here. Everything's going to get snapped. So, you know, you might want to add the actual island there and blend it all and everything before you paint the hull, but probably wouldn't add the phalanx or the Sea Sparrows on there. Or especially these little step bits here, you know, they're going to get broken off. So best way to go, build the hull, paint the hull, and then work up. Right, but that's just my opinion. So we've got assembly of sponsons here. We've got so they're telling you to make the colour of this deck with a light grey 3 parts and a field blue 1 part. So that's the colour of the steel decks there. And then we've got some tie downs and everything there. And then we've got raised and lowered ladders for gangways. Nice to have the option. And then here we've got more islands going on, more sponsons on the outside. We've got a ship's boat there, okay, hanging off a gantry. And then we've got attach B4 to A10 first. Okay, so you're going to fit this little sponson on here. Where's A10? There it is. There's B4. So you're going to fit the little sponson on there, but you've got to fit the bottom part on first. And then we're building up another sponson, another island, adding all these sponsons on. And then we've got our lifts going in. And you can see here they've got a typical old Tamiya style with a photograph of how it should look when it's done. That one's all been painted as well. You can see all the life rafts on there. So that's a picture of the finished model. That's not at this stage. And then coming along here, more sponsons. And then we're dealing with the fantail here. So all that detail going down in there. There should be a big hangar door here so they can come out and test the jet engines. It probably is. Notice we've got no railings or anything, so obviously there's no railings in the kit. and then we're adding life rafts around here, and then we've got the sparrows, sea sparrows here, aft starboard sea sparrows going in there. So yeah, it'd be okay to add that detail in there, wouldn't it? So here we're building up all this. And then we've got the drive gear going in. So we've got the propeller shafts and the propellers. We've got the rudders. Rudders are painted in gold. And the props are painted in gold. The rudders will be painted in they call it bottom colour here. Whatever colour your bottom is, paint it that colour. And then we've got to drill some holes here. They don't tell you what size, so make sure you get the right size. And then coming over the page, we've got the islands. So they're telling us to paint these little dots flat white. That'll drive you absolutely mad. Is that on the top or the bottom? German grey. I think that might be on the bottom. Add realism by painting on page 24. Let's have a look at page 24 and see what it says. Tie downs on deck are a flat white. Other painted deck markings are in white dashed yellow, red, white, or yellow, white centerline. So the tie down fittings on the deck are painted white. Wow. So what you could do there is paint it with your grey colour, whatever, as long as there's no other raised or lower detail on there. And then what you could do is give it a coat of varnish, give it a coat of water-based white paint, and then wipe the excess white off, and the white will stay down in the holes. But you'd have to have a look at the parts before you can see if you can do that. You can see here they've got the tie downs painted in white there, look, so very interesting. So we're adding the forward part of the deck, taping it down and everything, gluing it on. As I say, I'd be tempted to do all this before you put these sponsons on, because they're just going to get knocked with tape, and you might want to sand joints underneath or whatever. So there's all your elevators going in. So we've got a nylon line going in here, and apply instant cement to prevent the knot coming loose. So that's going to be one of your catapults, I'm guessing. Sorry, not catapults, arrestor wires. And then we've got the side elevators going in here. Okay, so we're going to tape that in place, attach the flight deck, fix with sellotape until cement is dried, and then here we're going to have them in the lowered position, so you can have them down or you can have them up. Again, no option to have the hangar doors open, more on that later. So we've got the aft flight deck going in here, and we've got this little side elevator going in there. So it looks like the elevators have to slide down in before the actual before the decks go on. So it looks like the elevators actually slide into their rails. And then we've got these little buttresses going on here. So, I mean, if you do this nylon line, then surely you're going to have to paint the deck first. Not too sure about that, because you're going to have a seam here and here to deal with. So maybe there's another way. So here you can show your aircraft coming into land on your arrestor hook. So there's your nylon lines. There's another one there attached to an aircraft. So there you go. Right. So here we've got lots of details going underneath the main central part of the deck. And there's a lift going in there. And then we're bringing this down. Is that a lift there? No, it's not. There's the lifts there. That's just part of the underside detail. And then we've got some hose reels going in. We've got screws going down here to hold the deck down. So probably best to assemble the hull and get this down and get it all sanded first before you start adding details and nylon lines and stuff. Maybe you could actually temporarily fit the deck to the hull and then glue it together and deal with the seams and then take the deck off as one piece. Luckily the Trumpeter have done it beautifully on the JR4. They've made the deck in one piece, so that's really nice. Here you can see your hose reels on the side with the phalanx there. We've got our life belts going on there, and then here you can see the what they call blast shields. You can see you can have them folded or raised. We've got some guns going in here, and then we got millions of life rafts going in. Is that part of our automatic landing system there? I think it is. Or is that it there? And then we've got some more hose reels, more lifeboats. And then this is the automatic landing system here. So that's going in there. So that's at the back of the ship, okay. So now you can see we've got our Sea Sparrows, and there's our ALS there. So make barricade net as shown if you raise supports. So you've got a barricade net. Oh dear, not quite sure how you'd make that in scale. Perhaps you can probably buy it in a photo etch or something. And coming over the page, we've got our bow antennas. You can have them raised or lowered. Again, you want to be putting those on last because they're going to get snapped off whatever you do. You can imagine having those there and then trying to paint those white dots while you're... And we've got some deck equipment. So we've got a nice mobile crane. We've got tow tractors. We've got a crash truck. Okay, and then we're going to build up the island. That's all coming together out of separate sections. So obviously they probably didn't have slide moulding back in the day. And then we're going to add these little decks to the outside of the island, and then all these little details are going in. You might want to put some crystal clear in the windows or something to glaze them. Radar going on here. So as you can see, this is all quite chunky plastic, but as I said earlier, there is aftermarket galore for this. And they've got the stand coming together there, and then you've got the island going on, and then it's showing us how to rig the island. And then we've got aircraft coming together. Unfortunately, they're made of grey plastic, not clear, so the canopies will have to be painted like that. But in this scale, you probably get away with it. Here you've got the American flag going up, and you can see here some different layouts for your aircraft. So this is during navigation. So this is just just at sea, just sailing around, minding its own business. And then here we are, ready for action. So you can see they've moved these aircraft back. And now the Tomcats are taking off. So there's a Tomcat getting off the catapult. There's one about to go, and then there's some more here ready to go. That's all cool. And then here we've got that painting detail stuff I was talking about. And then here we've got the colours required. So these are all the XF paints you require. Obviously, when this was done, there were no LP paints available, so you might want to use LP instead. We've got all about the decal sheet there. We've got the aircraft decal markings here. They're telling you to paint the canopies metallic blue X13, which I've actually got a jar here. I think not. Probably better to do them in like a gloss grey or something. And then here, this is all the signals, so you can use these signals on your ship to show what it's actually doing. And then finally, coming back here, this is our guide for painting the deck. Not sure if this is painted or if it's a decal. This is probably painted. They're probably asking you to paint this because they don't show a decal number on it. That's okay, no issue. Bit of masking tape. And then here we've got the sprue callouts in the old-fashioned Tamiya style, and it's showing you the colours on there while they're still on the sprue. So you can see all these parts are coloured, and these are the colours that you're going to be painting those parts. The trouble is, all they use is black and blue ink, so it's different levels of black and blue. As you can see here, flat white and lemon yellow. You've got to try and determine which is which. So are the top of these flat white or are they lemon yellow? So you got millions of references that the internet's covered. And then here you can see the final bit of the sprue call out. So we've got 3 countersunk screws, and we've got 3 aluminium countersunk screws, and we've got 3 flange nuts. Sorry, 2 screws and 2 flange nuts. There's 3mm screws. And then here we've got our metal parts. We have nylon. They have given us the nylon 9 for the catch wires, so that's good. Arrestor wires. So we've got decals for the aircraft carrier, decals for the aircraft, hull frame A, hull frame C, hull with frame B. So there we are. Right, so that's our instructions. Let's have a look at some plastic. So what we'll do is I'll take this cardboard insert out, which is very nice indeed. And then we've got some sprues here. Now I'm not going to open these bags for fear that I might want to sell the kit. So we can see here, I mean, as I say, there are millions of reviews on this online. You can go and take a look. But we'll just have a brief look through the plastic. You can see it's all a bit old and chunky. Can we see any dates on here? Yeah, 1984. So 41 years old. So it's still crisp and clean. But then this might have been made in 1984. I don't know. As I say, I bought this second hand. So you can see there's the fantail there. Some more bits and pieces. There's all your doors for your hangers, but you can only have them closed, as you can see. So there we are, it's a bit broken off the sprue there. So that's sprue, what sprue is that? That's sprue B. Okay, and then here we've got a lot of our island parts here, and you can see these windows are all open, they're nicely moulded open, so you can put a sheet of acetate in behind there, or just colour them in the crystal clear or whatever. As I say, millions of builds of this online, so you don't need to go and, you know, you don't need to have me build this. You could spend a whole week probably just watching enterprise videos on YouTube. But that's sprue D. You can see we've got all our bits and pieces there, and it's nice that we've got the underside of the deck there, which is nicely done. So very nice indeed, very crisp, very sharp. And then here we've got some sponsons, we've got some lifts, we've got ejector pin marks in there on the underside. Nope, that's the top side. We're going to put something else on top of that by the look of it, so that's okay. So that's all right. Just wondering what's going to go on top of there. We've got some sponsons here which have obviously come off the sprues, and you can see some more sponsons here. That's for our sea sparrows are going to go on there. Lovely, very nice indeed. And then here we have part of the deck. So this is the forward part of the deck, and we can see that all of these little tie downs are raised. You've got 65 there, you can see that's moulded in. That's actually a raised line. And then you've got your decal sheet here, looking quite old, but still usable. And then there's the aft deck there. They're sellotaped together, typical old Tamiya style. Remember the old B-52 with the sellotaped together fuselage halves. We've got a smaller sprue here of some greeblies. So these sprues are identical, they're both sprue E. So you can see here we've got hundreds and hundreds of life rafts. We've got our phalanx there, we've got the emergency truck there, we've got some tow trucks here, lots and lots of cable reels or hose reels down there as well. So a nice big selection of greeblies there. And then here we've got our aircraft sprues. So we've got, there's, what's in here, there's 4 of these, and on each sprue we have folded Tomcat, extended F-18, extended A6. What aircraft was that? That would be the Viking. Yes, I couldn't remember. That's the Viking. And then we've got an A6 there, another F-18, another F-14 folded. There's a Corsair there. I'm looking for an F-14 extended and I can't see one. So they're basically a mirror image of each other. Okay, so we've got, that's what we've got here. We've got eight Corsairs. We've got 8 folded Tomcats. We've got 8 of each basically. There's the engines there for the Vikings. You can see a little undercarriage down in there as well. So they're very nice actually. They've got, you know, ample detail on them and not great big heavy panel lines which you often see on 350th scale aircraft. Another sprue here with our lifts on. So we've got separate undersides for the lifts. I'm assuming this is the underside that you see, and this has got the ejector pin marks in it, so you have to deal with them. We've got some little extensions here, and then there you can see there's our crane going on the deck there. Here we've got a big piece of cardboard, and in that piece of cardboard which is taped we have the main part of the deck. As I say, brilliant packaging, made in Japan, 1/350th Enterprise. There's no date on there, but you can see here where the nylon line's going to go. And then the upper part of the deck, you can see the lovely detail on there. We've got these raised lines to help you paint it. You may wish to sand them off, and all of these tie downs are done as raised lines. So what I said earlier about painting them white and then wiping the paint off won't work, I'm afraid. You have to paint each one. That'll drive you absolutely crazy. You could actually probably use a little white marker. But anyway, or you could paint the whole thing white and then mask them and then paint the deck grey. There's more than one way to skin a cat. You could also make up a little mask. Maybe somebody's already done a mask for it. I bet they have actually. I bet somebody's done a mask so you can mask this deck and then paint those white dots. Okay, so that's that. And then in the box here I have these aircraft, which I'm not going to get out because they're not part of the kit, so they could go over there. And then here we have the box. You can see how lovely packaging we've got on the hull. Bearing in mind this is second hand, guys. So here we have the hull beautifully packaged. So let's get this box out of the way. We've got another set of instructions in here, and these are the Japanese instructions, you can see there, so that's cool. Right, so here we have the hull. So you've got this lovely thick cardboard packaging to keep it all protected. It's not quite as good as Trumpeter does these days, but it's very good nonetheless. So there you can see we've got the major hull. So let's get that out of the way. So you can see the sort of level of detail we've got on here. It's very, very simple by today's standards. You can see the stern here. We've got a ladder there moulded on. We've got some details on here. We've got the lines, the line for the with the boot top in marked off as a raised, very, very faint raised line. You can see the detail here, the grills and everything. Bilge keels aren't very nice. They're great big thick lumps, but if you put the model on a stand, you're not going to look at underneath. You won't see that anyway. You can see there's this great big area where the bow joins on. And then here is said bow. Okay, so you can see we've got lots of detail on there. Okay, so that's going to sit on there like that. So we've got a big old boat in front of us. And then here we have the stand. So the stand is in, got a great big Enterprise badge there, you can see for your stand. The stand is in two parts, so that's pretty cool. We've got a metal bracket here. So this is all going to go back in here, isn't it? Never mind, I'll do that after. And then here we have our bag of metal brackets, screws, and then we have some nylon line for our arrestor wires. So there we go. It's nice, isn't it? For its age, it's lovely. By today's standards, it's not lovely at all, but it is quite nice. So there we are. So I've got to get all this back together in there, get it all back, or try and get it all back in the box. And I will see you back for another video on CVN 65 Enterprise, and it will be looking at our first bit of aftermarket for it. And it's very nice indeed. Look out for that one. I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.